I know I'm late to this discussion, but there is aim assist on mouse in Halo Infinite. And 343 added it by accident, too. Their patch notes literally says we don't want to move the player's reticle at all. Look, man, I'm not an expert, okay? But I see movement. I see more than enough movement. Now, despite this, a lot of people actually really like this change. And with all the positive feedback, 343 have chosen to hold off on removing this aim assist until people have had more time to play with it. And I think it's safe to say, if you look at some of the statistics, that despite the many advantages M&K has in video games, in Halo, on average, there is a clear disadvantage in accuracy with M&K versus controller. They had to change something here. But is this the right change? Is it just that maybe controller had too much aim assist? Or now that mouse has aim assist, will that tip the scales too far the other direction and now controller is at a disadvantage? Will M&K take over Halo esports in 2023 and should you switch peripherals? Is the industry catering too hard to casuals? I have so many questions. So let's answer those questions. In this video, we're going to discuss what exactly has changed. I'm going to react to some M&K clips from community and pros, as well as 1v1 footage featuring some of the best controller players in the game. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to show off a setup I've been testing that combines controller and mouse together. Best of both worlds, baby. I timestamped it all in the video play bar. Sub if you like the content. Let's discuss.
Jesus shit. That guy got the boot on. Oh my god!
Okay, so first, what happened? 343's only objective here was to increase something called mouse friction. Essentially, when your reticle crosses a target, there is a slight slowdown or friction that takes place, making it easier to track targets in combat. Aim assist is a little different. This is when your reticle is actually pulled towards the target during combat. And Accelerate, a content creator, has a great video on this. I've linked it all in the description, but essentially his video shows that there was an increase in mouse friction, just like the patch notes detail, and then there's aim assist on top of that. And the aim assist only triggers if your player is moving in some way. Either your Spartan is like physically moving or your reticle is moving is what triggers the aim assist. Now, some combination of these factors can actually give you more aim assist. Turns out if you're holding down the click button, so say you're shooting like an automatic weapon or holding the click in between bursts on the BR, you actually get slightly more aim assist apparently. So if you want the most aim assist on mouse, try holding your clicks in between shots while you're moving. The combination of it all might give you more. So what does this mean for gameplay? Let's find out. We're going to react to some Accelerate. Now note that he was an Onyx rank player even before the patch, so the man's got plenty of experience. He's already very skilled on M&K. And I'm sure we'll see that in these clips.
Swap guns.
Here we go.
More aimbot. More aimbot.
Oh, no. He's going to shred everyone.
More aimbot. It doesn't stop, bro. This is so dumb.
Got to keep in mind the buff to the commando as well recently, making this even more deadly. But also, this is a social BTB game. It's very clear he's more skilled than these players. Like, he's in the open, he's jumping, and his opponents are barely hitting him. I think in any other context, let's say this is ranked, and he's playing an equally skilled player, like, he's 100% dead for doing what he's doing here. Not to discredit how quickly he's able to switch targets and track, right? Like, the advantages of M&K, how quickly you can swap between targets, react 180 immediately, right? Find himself the over here. Tracking isn't perfect either, though, right? There was a little windmill there on the reticle, something you'd see on controller. When that player dropped, he kind of missed it a bit.
For all players of the game, allows all skills to flourish.
Clearly, he doesn't even think it's fair, which is, I'm not sure if he's doing himself a disservice saying that.
One more. Oh, no, get him. Go, go,
Note
go,
that with
go.
sniping, there is no aim assist, no scoping with the snipe. If he's in scope, he will get a slight aim assist, just like it is on controller. There's no aim assist when no scoping. Snipe.
Oh, look at that. Just a casual.
Casual 73. I want to see some more sniping. I know sniping in general is very powerful at M&K, and I'm sure Accelerate can show us that. Oh my god.
Oh, he's scared.
Just casually dismantles the Warthog like a Mint Bliss video. Oh my god. Note that scoping is where he gets the assistance. There we go. That's the thing, is just in general, sniping on mouse is already, you know, very reliable. Oh. Ooh, the speed that he's, right, acquiring targets in and out of scope, flick speed, right? Like the speed of that flick, I think you'd never see that on a controller. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even think to do that on controller, right? On top of the fact that, like, I play with right stick click, so I'm clicking scope like 3 separate times just to get in and out of scope. A lot of discipline required to master something that he's making, like, he makes look seemingly effortless, you know? Shock rifle is a wild one because shock rifle actually has a little bit of aim assist no scoping and has aim assist well scoping. So I think just post patch, the effectiveness of this gun has just gone up through the roof. And I think he's demonstrating that for us. I mean, once again, this is the beauty of BTB. You got targets everywhere, not even looking at you. If you're accurate, you can pull off a casual nair. You can pull off a casual nair, apparently. This man puts it together. Watching this definitely makes me think that M&K is kind of ridiculous with the aim assist patch. Even listening to Accelerate's commentary, it sounds like he thinks it's ridiculous. It looks fun, though. Don't get me wrong. Like, this makes me want to play M&K Halo. Looks like a good time. I think we should also keep in mind that he's clearly a very skilled player. This is social BTB. I think in a social environment, whether you're on controller or M&K, it's not uncommon to see a good player pop off in BTB. So let's watch a pro. Here's Royal 2. He needs no introduction. Man's one of the best to ever play Halo. Apparently he plays Counter-Strike a bit as well. I feel like I can tell. Jeez. And he's hilarious. He's got it all, honestly. Oh, man. The speed that he 180s, right? Once again, it's the control of your acceleration on mouse. You can move as quickly as you want, but then slow that down and fine-tune it, too, right? To find a no-scope in a situation like that, for example. Combine that with the reaction time, right? Like the speed that he gets both those kills. Yeah, it's something that you would not expect to see on controller. Typically, you take a little bit more time to set up the shot. Jeez. That's just perfect reads and game sense right there, right? Like, that's his Halo experience coming into play. Perfect head-level placement, pre-shot. Calls it out. Finding the head out of the jump there, too. I feel like you could give this man a Guitar Hero controller. He'll find a way to make a play with it, right? Like, he's just got the experience. Jeez. Okay. So a couple things there, too. It's kind of hard to see it here, but the speed that you can sprint, slide left and right on M&K, definitely an advantage. How quickly you can, reposition, slide, and then nade and melee into the floor. On controller, you got plenty of time to do this following the nade animation, but the speed that you can look down and nade is so powerful and something I want to show off a little later. Jeez.
Oh, dude. Oh my fucking god.
A key takeaway here. No amount of aim assist will ever save you from your teammates.
Oh my fucking god. Oh, I'm not gonna lose my mind. I'm not gonna lose my mind.
Now, note that Royal 2 is not the only one who can dominate on M&K. There are other very talented players like Necessity, for example, making big plays since the patch. However, despite that, neither of them are switching off controller, and I don't think this is happening anytime soon. Royal 2 has already mentioned in his stream that he prefers controller. He's already back on it now for the new season. So then why is it that even with slight aim assist and some very convincing clips, that M&K is still not being picked up competitively? It's a difficult topic, but I think it starts with the fact that Halo Infinite is kind of a unique shooter and that the significant advantages that M&K typically has over controller are not really that important in competitive Halo. For example, being able to instantly 180 is a nice convenience in a shooter, but Halo is an arena shooter focused around spawn and map control. Assuming your team has good spawn awareness and knows how to control a map, then very rarely do you have to 180. Typically, you know exactly where the enemy is coming from. Also, being able to very quickly react and snap onto a target, especially if you're caught off guard, is another nice convenience of M&K and something very powerful in a game like Counter-Strike, let's say. But in Halo, there's a shield system and a high time to kill. Assuming your opponent has good movement and positioning, they can turn that fight around and come out on top. The one area of gunplay with the heaviest weight on player performance in Halo is tracking with the battle rifle, especially close to mid-range tracking, and this is an area where mouse is least comfortable. I'm talking straight up 1v1 combat, no cover. The winner of that fight is the player who tracks better. This process on mouse is difficult. It requires a lot of focus and precision, especially with the BR. Even with the slight bit of aim assist, the issue with the BR is every shot is a 3-round burst. The difficulty is controlling each burst on mouse and making sure that each bullet hits on each shot so that you get a perfect 4-shot. With controller, you don't have to think about burst control too much. You kind of just slap the reticle onto the player, and there is some fine tuning, but you don't have to work nearly as hard to secure that 4-shot. And the issue is that I want to say like 70% of gunfights in competitive Halo come down to BR versus BR 1v1s. So then does this mean that aim assist on controller is just too strong? Hard to say. Again, this is a tricky topic. First off, I'd say that overall, aim assist in Halo Infinite is lower than it's ever been in any other Halo. It is more difficult to track shots on controller in Halo Infinite, especially with specific weapons. Take the sniper, for example. There is no aim assist at all when no-scoping. It is one of, if not the most challenging sniper we've ever seen in Halo. The BR, however, is on the more forgiving side. It was recently nerfed. It is slightly harder to use. The final headshot is more difficult to land now, but overall, in comparison to other precision weapons, it is more forgiving. So, would the competitive community be okay with less aim assist? Absolutely. But Halo is not just a competitive game. What about everyone else, right? The game is already plenty challenging on controller for the average player. Removing aim or lowering aim assist would hurt everyone outside of competitive play. I also think having different amounts of aim assist depending on the playlist would be kind of a jarring adjustment and might further divide our Halo community. Something to keep in mind with Halo's BR is that tracking shots has never really been the most difficult aspect of competitive Halo. Like, sure, in a game like Halo 3, there were projectile bullets and also a questionable netcode at times, but basically you had to lead your shots depending on the distance, and this created an interesting skill floor for new players. But with Halo 3's aim assist and relatively simple and predictable movement, for a competitive player, tracking shots was basically just a baseline expectation. Like, sure, the sniper offered some variance in skill expression, but for any aspiring competitor, being able to confidently track shots with the BR was something they did pretty easily. Because of this, the most important aspects of skill expression in Halo came from other areas of play. Having great teamwork, communication, and control over valuable weapons. Having great positioning, so you had the edge in a gunfight. Having exceptional movement and timing, so you could win first shot advantages and keep your opponent under pressure, forcing them to miss shots. If you couldn't manipulate these things properly, any pro would easily melt you. And in my opinion, that's sort of the beauty of controller Halo. Like, the entire combat experience from the ground up was something designed to be uniquely rewarding on a controller. Everyone spawns with precision weapons and shields. No headshot modifiers unless we're talking CE. Just land shots, break the shields, hit the head for the kill. This created a longer, more dynamic and challenging combat loop on controller than other games like Call of Duty at the time. Aim assist was then necessary to make this process approachable for the masses and consistent, but also challenging and rewarding for everyone on controller. Master the baseline of securing kills, and then the game's many other layers of skill expression would open up to you. So, in my opinion, the issue is not necessarily that aim assist is too strong on controller. It's that MK players are basically playing a different game than controller players. They're in this weird spot where they can do all this crazy stuff that's basically impossible on controller, but at the same time, they've had to work their asses off to consistently achieve something that is an important and baseline expectation of competitive play. And this was especially true before the recent patch. Because pros on controller can more reliably track shots, they can get kills faster, meaning the entire pace of the game is different on controller. Controller pros are basically playing Halo at a near inhuman pace of play on M&K, and this also frees them up to focus on other things. You've got players like Bound flying across maps, making insane aggressive plays that are highly skillful in controller versus controller, but for a mouse player in the same lobby, because tracking is more challenging, even attempting that same play is very risky and unreliable unless you've got a huge shot or timing advantage. Honestly, I think that controller versus controller Halo is one of the most skillful, most unique FPS experiences you will ever play. Just because there's some aim assist doesn't mean it's not an esport worthy of some serious respect. There's so many other layers of skill in so many other areas. It just happens to be an esport that is inherently designed to work very well on controller. It's always been that way. And honestly, I think it should stay that way. I don't think that nerfing aim assist on controller is the key to solving this issue. Does this mean that there's no hope for M&K and no way to solve this issue? No and no. First off, even though M&K still has to work a little harder with the BR and some pros have moved on, I'm not convinced that it's not viable and competitive after this aim assist buff. If anything, in several ways, it's actually overpowered, especially on the social side of the game. In general, aim assist on mouse isn't really a good look for Halo, for the broader audience outside of Halo. So just kind of bear with me as I try to piece this all together still. But I do think it's viable and competitive. And I think the biggest proof that we have is a player from Mexico who goes by the name Daddy Sam. Sam recently showed off some of his skills in an online 1v1 tournament. He is pretty nasty at the game. I don't know much of his history as a player. He's not super well known in NA, but despite that, the dude kind of shocked the competitive scene by beating a top AM Gunplexion. He beat pro player Gilkey. He took a game off Trippy and almost beat Stellar in 1v1s. Now, 1v1s and 4s are two very different ball games. In a 1v1, Sam can control the pace of play, which is very important, but it was clear watching his gameplay that not only was he keeping up when tracking, he's very good at playing into the advantages of M&K. He's very resourceful, prioritizing Commando over BR, which is good for tracking. He's quick to scan the map, and his reactions on M&K help give him first shot advantage. He can quickly 180 in close quarters, and he's very quick to throw bank nades at the ground in tight spots, which is honestly a superpower in Halo. On top of that, give him a sniper, and of course he's deadly accurate. He's also ranked 2300 Onyx, apparently, which that's like the highest echelon of Onyx play, so clearly he can play 4s as well. Note that people are questioning his legitimacy, considering this is online and how rampant cheating is in Halo Infinite right now, unfortunately, so it's not unexpected. For now, I'm just going to optimistically say that he's the real deal until proven otherwise. But I do think that M&K is viable and competitive now, and before the patch, it definitely wasn't. So there actually has been some forward progress here. If you're somebody who's more comfortable on M&K, I would definitely jump back into ranked, again, if you haven't already. For example, I've seen someone like Monster, who I know competed in Fortnite, switch over to M&K recently. I'm not sure if he's sticking with it, but it's starting to happen. If you're someone who's on controller, I don't think that there's any threat to switch over to mouse either. I think, at least in the short term, this is kind of good. It kind of works. My worry is, what does this mean for the future? Will this start to create some imbalances with M&K down the line? And then on the social side of the game, I worry that this type of aim assist is just too much in general. Like, watching Accelerate just dominate social lobbies while practically yawning isn't really a good look. Like, he had a tweet recently where he basically compared his experience to cheating with a Zim, saying that he's picking up bad habits and starting to play other games worse because of it. And of course, this is just one person, one opinion. Maybe I shouldn't give too much weight to the one opinion. So, M&K players watching this video, what do you think of all of this? I personally don't play a lot of M&K, but I feel like most weapons don't really need aim assist, especially snipers. Like, there's definitely shouldn't be aim assist on snipers. I think the increased reticle friction is a nice direction to take it. The BR was the main problem area that we've discussed. The BR is actually in a decent spot. Like, I don't know if they could just keep the BR, you know, and then bring it back to friction for everything else. And then we have to think of other alternatives to fixing this that don't involve adding aim assist to mouse either. For example, I've seen a lot of talk about strafe speed on Twitter recently. I know that some of the community believes the strafe is a little too fast in Halo Infinite, specifically that the speed of the acceleration is too fast on the strafe. Now, as a controller player, I personally like the speed of the strafe. I have no issues with it whatsoever, but I guess for now I'll just say, let me know what you think of strafe speed in Halo Infinite. If that maybe is the issue, if you tune that down, would you then maybe be able to tune down controller aim assist? Are we just kind of getting into a whole slippery slope here? I don't know. Another option that I personally like is considering a starting weapon change for competitive. And I know there will be some controversy here, but at least having a 5-shot DMR that is comparable to the BR in Halo Sandbox. And Tashi actually posted a tweet about this recently that I think would make for a great discussion for another video. But the gist of it for now is I like the idea of a no-bloom DMR. I feel like it would be very skillful for controller because you can't partially hit a target. You either hit the target or you don't. So you're getting very consistent, accurate feedback. You also have to nail the final headshot. You can't just swipe across the head and hit one bullet in the burst and get the kill. And then for M&K, it would be this perfect experience because the big issue with M&K is tracking the burst. None of that would be necessary if an M&K player has a DMR. They just got to swipe and hit shots with good accuracy. We get rid of some of the tedium associated with time to kill right now on M&K. So overall, if you made it this far, I hope you can kind of understand how difficult this balancing act really is, right? Like, Halo is very much a unique game. And in a controller versus controller environment, it is pretty well balanced currently and very competitive and very skillful. But trying to add M&K to this mix and create this like perfect harmony where everybody can just kind of work together, like it's a very difficult balancing act. I feel more so for Halo than just about any other FPS game. On top of the many uninformed opinions kind of coming in from the broader community and industry, thinking like, why is there aim assist on mouse? What are they? Is they trying to make Halo as casual as possible? The whole industry is going to be infected by this casualness, you know? Like it's tough. There's so many complexities with Halo that I feel like are difficult to understand unless you're super immersed, in the game itself. But the ultimate idea here, if even possible, is to try to find a way to make it all work, to make it so that M&K, works in social, but you can also compete with it. There's a lot of barriers to entry with competitive as well. Like I didn't even mention, I was talking to Eli, the sensei from G1 recently, and he reminded me that the open bracket in competition in Halo is played on Xbox Series X. So if you're a new competitor, I think it still is played on Series X. If you're a new competitor on M&K, there, I believe, is a latency issue on mouse on Series X. So if you're trying to get into competition in Halo and you go to a tournament, you have to somehow battle through extra latency on Xbox in the open bracket and somehow win to get to the main stage and play on the PCs. So there are a lot of hurdles to tackle here. Hopefully we somehow find a harmony. I think I've said enough, though. I'm going to leave the rest to you guys in the comments. What do you think of this whole aim assist situation? Is there any way to solve it? How would you solve it? Before I go, I do want to let you know the controller mouse setup I had talked about. I was going to play on it, but this is a long video, so maybe I'll just play on it in a different video. But it's easy to do, assuming you have a controller with at least 2 paddles on the left-hand side. I play on bumper jumper. I have 2 paddles on the left. I have the top paddle at sprint and the bottom paddle on equipment. So all of my movement-related functions are on my left hand, and this is my muscle memory, and it's always been this way. So it's an easy switch for me to just control movement with my left hand. On my mouse, I have I think it's the Logitech G Pro wireless. It's got 2 buttons on the left-hand side. For the top button, I switch weapons. For the bottom button, I melee. And then with the mouse wheel, I flick down on the mouse wheel to reload. I flick up on it to ping, and I click the mouse wheel to pick up weapons. And then I shoot with left click, and aim or scope with right click. And that's enough for me to control the whole game with controller plus mouse. And it's honestly really fun. I've only really played Academy with it. I do think that, like, over time, I could build up some comfort and probably be pretty good with it. I do think that there's some good potential, honestly, with this controller mouse harmony. People often discredit how powerful the movement side of controller is, just the ability to kind of fine-tune how you move on the map. And with all my muscle memory there, I can kind of hit all my slides and do everything comfortably. Just got to work on my aim. But if you want to try it out, let me know what you think. It's honestly pretty cool. You can play in all the playlists with it. And that's it for this discussion. It was a tough one to tackle, to be honest. Hopefully I hit all the right beats. But if you like this content, if you like discussions like this, I highly recommend you check out my other discussions right beside me. Make sure to sub if you haven't done so already. And as always, good luck on the way. I'll see you soon.